And hello, real estate fans all over the world. It's time for another edition of the Real Estate Show. We are South Florida's #1 show about real estate, America's longest running daily radio show, all about the topic of real estate. And we are here live again here on this Tuesday. Our Tuesdays tools, tips, and techniques is what we call this edition of the Real Estate Show. But remember, there are 5 shows that come live every day right now here at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We come here live at five different ways. We come here on our 1470 on the AM dial. We come here on 95.3, 96.9, and even 106.9 on the FM dial. If you have one of the portable apps that carry radio stations like the radio.com, the TuneIn, the Spreaker, and those are just to name a few. iHeartRadio is another one. And so we're on the apps, so AM, FM apps, and we also stream this live on our website at automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com. All you have to do is go to the top of the page there, click on the Real Estate Show. It'll give you the opportunity to listen to us live or listen to the radio show notes. And yes, there's written notes. There is a link within the written notes that lets you listen to this show in its entirety on demand when you want. You can also download that show and take it with you in podcast form. So whether you're on a boat, plane, or a train, you can take us with you as well. And finally, you can not only listen to us 5 different ways. The 5th way is also allowing you to watch the radio show. You can watch that on our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Real Estate Show. That's /The Real Estate Show. If you already have a Facebook page, you just have to put in The Real Estate Show, no spaces, no hyphens, just one long word, The Real Estate Show. And for some reason, it seems to go faster if you capitalize the first letter of each word, but that's entirely up to you. So 5 different ways to listen to this show, 5 days a week at 5 p.m. And if that wasn't enough, you can also hear our show when it's rebroadcast in our end of the week marathon. That's Sunday night. We start at 9 p.m. and run all the shows back to back from 9 p.m. on until you've listened to all of the shows. So lots of opportunities for you to gather lots of information. And that's what we do here. You know, our mission here on the Real Estate Show is to educate and empower our listeners to be better real estate investors, better real estate owners, and all in all, remember my little quote that everybody is in real estate. Either you're in real estate or you're on real estate, and it's better to be in real estate because people in real estate generate the benefits. They get the rent checks, they get the tax benefits, they get the lifelong use, the ability to buy, sell, rent it. Those people on real estate are the ones who are writing the checks. And whether you're writing the checks in the form of a physical check or a ACH or a Zelle to your landlord, whether you're going to an office where your labor translates into the money that pays the landlord of your business. Again, better to be in real estate than on real estate, and no better place to start than right here. Now, every week we start the week off with our Mondays on a Mission edition of the Real Estate Show, where we set up the theme. And yesterday we went the entire program talking about the theme and why it's so important. We're talking about income. And today we're going to spend a good amount of time talking about that from a tools, tips, and techniques point of view. And also on Monday, what we talk about is what the agenda is for each day of the week. So today we're going to talk about some tips about choosing additional sources of income. Now, it's kind of interesting about this conversation, particularly today. Today is actually day 2 of what they call the brand new 2020 URLA. And what is that? The Uniform Residential Loan Application. That means anybody who goes to any mortgage broker or any bank fills out this form called the URLA, and it used to be called the Form 1003, the Fannie Mae Form 1003, which was the application. But this goes back about 10 years ago. Then we had the big, the mortgage meltdown, the real estate debacle that was part of the Great Recession. And in that process, what ended up happening is that there was a lot of attention drawn to why there was so much bad debt in the marketplace. And so there was the Dodd-Frank Act, which I'm sure you've heard about. There was a number of reforms to the mortgage industry. And quite frankly, a lot of people were just washed out of that business. And I watched a lot of my friends leave the business. I even met one as a barista at Starbucks when there was no mortgage brokerage jobs to be had. In fact, there's no mortgages for a while to be had. You couldn't you couldn't originate a mortgage to save your life. So a lot of people had to do whatever they had to do. But in that transition, then they came out with a new the truth in residential disclosures. They call it the TRID form. And if you were to look at the original 1003 and the good faith estimate and all these different forms that used to exist, they now are all becoming sort of combined into one package, which the object, of course, is for there to be as much clarity and open disclosure as possible. Well, that was good news, and that is also changed again. And so March 1st, what they call the URLA 2020, which is the latest and greatest version. And I was just on a seminar where they were going over this form. And I made a couple of notes, and it was kind of interesting because it really fit in well with our conversation here. Now, most of you out there are saying, well, this is all very technical, and why do I care? Well, you're on the other side of that application at some point, whether you're getting a mortgage for your personal residence, whether you're getting a mortgage for an investment property. There is a lot of new information in there that now, is designed to make it much more clear what you're getting, but it also requires you to be a lot more clear, because one of the other reasons for the big debacle, the mortgage meltdown, was the amount of fraud in the mortgage business back then. The old fog a mirror, get a loan, tell me what I want to hear loans, that the stated income loans that were back then. And fortunately, all of that kind of got washed out. There was a definite erasure of all of those programs. Now we're starting to get some of the more creative programs back, but don't confuse creative with easy to commit fraud with. So there are all sorts of acknowledgments and statements that you make on these applications. What I find really cool, obviously, as a proponent of the automatic landlord and all the systematic things that we teach our real estate investor students and clients about, is the fact that now this is so automated. In fact, when I start a loan application with somebody, all I have to do is send them a text for them to download their own personal password protected app, where they can actually fill out their application online or on the app. They can take pictures of the documents. So you remember those days where you would, get all of your documents together in a big thing, go make Xerox copies at your office or at Office Depot, or maybe truck on down to the mortgage broker's office and make copies over there, which meant that you were probably sitting in these appointments for hours and hours. Well, all of that is now history with the right companies. Now, granted, you go to some of your corner store banks, the big box banks, they're still kind of stuck in the old ways, doing things with paper. But one of the things that was very interesting, and now here we go talking about our topic here of income. I'm going to talk a little bit about the different types of income. And one of the things as we were building up this conversation about the different types of income, but let me just take one step back, just for some of you who might not have heard our show yesterday, and perhaps might not have been following us for the last 2 weeks. There are three things that every lender, whether it be your conventional mortgage lender, your big banks, your financial institutions, your mortgage lender, your specialty lenders, your alternative sources of loans, and so forth, they're always going to look at three factors. And it boils down to really just these three factors. Number one is the credit. It's sort of the first filter. If you can't get over a certain credit score, no one need apply. And in fact, I'll come back to this later on, but I had a very interesting conversation with a tenant applying for one of the units. And their complaint was that the credit is an unfair way of filtering. Fair or unfair, it is what it is. And if you want to get a loan from a bank and you don't have good credit scores, then you need to fix it. And we talked about for a whole week on all the different what a credit is composed of, the components, how to fix it fast. And if you want to learn more about that, if you missed that, then text the word credit to our real estate show Smartline. And in fact, I haven't given that out yet. The toll-free Smartline number, which is 561-861-2366. That's 561-861-2366. Type the word credit, and you'll get an automated text response to get more information about how to speed up the credit repair process, how to bump your credit in 30 days or less, and all sorts of information about credit, including tonight. We have our credit workshop. So if you'd like to just attend for absolutely free as a listener of our show, you just have to type the word credit, text it to 561-861-2366. And we're also going to send you the Zoom link for you to be admitted into the workshop that you can watch from your computer from the convenience of wherever you are. Monday night, we talked about equity. That was the word. That's the other issue, is that every lender wants to know what equity you're putting into the property. Now, there are lenders that offer 100% financing or 1% down, like the VA loan, 3% down, like the FHA loans, or there are down payment programs, down payment assistance programs, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. If you want to learn more about that, all you have to do is type in the word equity, and we'll send that information to you to the same number. So credit kind of gets you in the door. Equity is one of the sort of, we'll call it a triage. It tells you which way that they're going to put you, whether it's in a first-time home buyer with a low down payment, whether it's in a down payment assistance program, whether it's in any other kind. The more you put down, or an investor program, et cetera, is all those two questions are going to come up. And then the third question is, how are you going to repay the loan? Which brings us to the conversation of income. And so I was saying, and I maintain, that the only reason any one of you out there doesn't own a home is because you're not interested enough to do so. In other words, you don't want a home, because we can fix the credit, we can find the down payment, and I'm going to talk this week entirely about how to increase and how to verify the income that you have. Now, if you know the right questions to ask, then you can get a lot further down the process. And if you don't know the questions to ask, then again, you can give us a call, and I'm going to give out the toll-free number for that as well. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, hear a few words from our sponsors. When we come back, I'm going to talk about some of the different types of income. You may have your job income, your self-employment income, you may own a business, you may have income from investments. There's lots of different types of income, different ways to verify these incomes, and that's what we're going to talk about in the second part of the program. So don't touch that dial. You're listening to the Real Estate Show today on our tools, tips, and techniques. My name is Eric Willner, and I will be right back. Hey, Sam. How you doing? I haven't seen you a while. Not on the Inner Circle calls. I haven't seen you here. You doing well? Let's see. And Cynthia's there. To join you as a guest in your broadcast. Not sure what that says. Good. Hey, Cynthia. And welcome back. For those of you just joining us, you are listening to The Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program about real estate and America's longest running daily radio show all about real estate. And we are now celebrating our 22nd consecutive year. So through good times, through bad times, through little recessions, through the Great Recession, and even through the worldwide pandemic. The Real Estate Show here has been a bastion of information, a guide rail for many investors along the way. In fact, today I was out and I got a call from one of our listeners who was saying that the reason he was calling is that he's tried his luck, as it will, at real estate investing for the last 3 years, and he said it's been brutal. I said, well, it is competitive out there right now, and there is a lot of stuff, but he had first got into an investment property after, for so long, sort of measuring when to get in, what to do. A few years ago, he got in, took the plunge, and bought himself a triplex. Found out that it was in an area which is a little bit tougher. It tends to bring tougher tenants in that area. Didn't know what questions to ask. Didn't know what questions to ask when it came to the financing. So he wasn't given the best financing. He wasn't given the options of different ways to go. Hey, Val, thanks. A really nice compliment there on our Facebook. And that's what I like about our Facebook, is the ability to interact with some of it. So I appreciate it. I love those comments, and love it. Love hearing from you too. Hope everything is doing well out there in Tennessee. So anyway, he had a hard time with the duplex, getting it rented, and then he put a tenant in there that was allegedly good at doing handiwork and lawn work, and it's not that I never do something like that, but I'm very careful, because there are a lot of people out there that claim to be contractors and handymen. And if you don't see some of their work first, you may be very disappointed with what they think is a good job. And of course, they're going to be asking for credits. And the next thing you know, you're giving up a certain amount of your rent in order to get work done that you may have to do twice because it wasn't done well. That was the first thing. And then when COVID came around, that very same tenant, which was now quote unquote out of work, wasn't paying rent. And next thing you know, you've got to get somebody out of a property that wasn't even paying the full amount of rent. So the losses and the mistakes, a lot of these could have been avoided if you had, for example, that sounding board to talk to. And that's, of course, what this real estate show. If you ever have questions, just go to our website at automaticlandlord.com. I know a lot of you already know that. Just go to automaticlandlord.com. There's an area there where you can send questions, and I try my best always to try to answer those questions in one of the next shows. So as I started out saying, the mortgage industry just did a radical new thing, and they have a brand new form. And any mortgage that starts out that was, if it wasn't already in the pipeline, if a mortgage application wasn't taken before March 1st, it now has to go onto this new, much more complex form called the URLA 2020. And it's kind of interesting, so one of the things that goes to our conversation about income today is it will first ask, are you employed? Because if you're employed, there's one way of verifying your income. In fact, when you're employed, believe it or not, it's sort of easier. And if you've had, stable employment, in other words, if you've been employed somewhere for up to 2 years, and it's likely to continue for another 3 years, that's kind of how the banks rationalize, then it's very simple. They simply ask for the last 2 pay stubs and the last 2 W-2s. There's your verification of 2 years employment in the same place, and then 2 pay stubs verifying that you still are employed there. And the most recent pay stubs will or should reflect what you're earning, so they can calculate your income ratios, what your debt to income ratios are. Now, if you're self-employed, it becomes a little bit more complex, right? Because now you're not getting a pay stub. You don't get a W-2 every year. So they're going to ask for your full 2 years tax returns, number one, because you've got to have 2 years tax returns. Now, if you're employed and you may have just started the job, but because it's likely to continue, maybe you're just out of college, believe it or not, college in the same field, you're studying accounting, for example, and then you graduated college and you're 6 months in an accounting job, they'll count that as 2 years in the same field and go off of your income for your qualifications. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If you're 6 months out of college as an accountant degree and go into business for yourself, unfortunately, lenders won't touch that because you don't have the 2 years experience in your self-employed business. So self-employed, you're going to have 2 years tax returns, and you're going to have to prepare whatever the amount of this year since the last tax return. They're going to look for you to put together an income and expense statement, and so a profit and loss statement. And that's what a self-employed person has to do. Now, what's neat, and this is where we were talking about some of the creative areas, is that there are other ways of verifying income. Particularly, if you think about it, what do all self-employed people do? They expense as much as they can because they want to pay less taxes, and let's just say legitimately so, that a lot of the expenses driving around for their business and things like that, so gas, wear and tear on the automobile. So they'll take every possible expense and reduce their income, giving them the benefit. One of the benefits of being self-employed is being able to write off a lot of those expenses. But what the government giveth in one hand, taketh away on the other, because now when the banks look at your income is artificially low because you, as a self-employed person, showed all those expenses. A W-2 or an employee person couldn't write off the expenses of driving to and from work. So the same income may have come in, and one seems a lot better and stronger to the lender. So they devised some programs to reward smart business people who have good credit. Remember, first filter, if they have great credit, 700 and above credit score, sometimes 720 and above, they'll allow you to use your bank statements as your gross income, the same way they use gross income for W-2, and then they allow you to get qualified on that. Now, those aren't the ones that give you the very best interest rates, so there's always a little bit of a give and take, a little trade-off in those different things. But the new form now allows you to add multiple jobs, which in today's day and age, you're starting to see more and more people have freelance jobs. So they have multiple streams of income. So now you may have a daytime W-2 job, an evening self-employment job, or even maybe a subcontractor type of a job, or something similar to that, or maybe it's just or some other type of revenue. The new form takes all of those, or whether it's rental income for other properties. So as you can see, now it's much more detailed, which gives you actually some opportunities to bring in income that before you might not have thought to get you qualified. So if you want to talk about income, get qualified, and all those things, then you want to give us a call. The toll-free number to reach us is 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. That's for a phone call. You can go to our website at Automatic Landlord, and right there's a book an appointment on our Facebook page. There's a book an appointment button there. So if you go to facebook.com/The Real Estate Show, lots of different ways to have a private one-on-one, no cost, no obligation, with yours truly here on The Real Estate Show. Anyway, the music is coming in. That means I'm on my way out. That's another edition of The Real Estate Show. Remember, we'll be back again, same place tomorrow for our midweek report. Lots of stuff going on. New news on the stimulus, we'll cover that, and a whole bunch of other stuff here on the topic of income, real estate, and you. So until then, this is Eric Willner signing off. Drive safe, wash those hands, and make it a great day. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you, my friend.